It's an old story. Another remarkable species, once numbering in the millions, now on the path to extinction. Some biologists say it could happen in 30 or 40 years. But now a high-ranking conservative member of Congress who started out to save the Bonneville Power Administration has placed himself squarely in the middle of the salmon debate. His proposal: remove the most recently constructed 4 dams on the Snake River, take them out or breach them, and leave economically unharmed all those affected by this drastic action, to the tune of $33.5 billion.
25 years ago when I was in the state legislature was the first time that anybody had ever come to me and said, you know, we ought to breach these lower Snake River dams. I started to laugh when they said that because I thought that was the craziest idea I ever heard. I said, you got to do everything else you can to save salmon before you go to that extreme. Well, guess what? We've tried everything else and nothing's worked.
Simpson's conversion has a lot of people talking, in part because he's been preaching his message not just in Idaho, but throughout the Northwest.
You're not going to restore them with the dams in place. That's what every fish biologist that I know of has said. To me, the science is clear. You've got to remove the dams.
The 4 dams are in Washington state, not Idaho. And one person who's been covering this debate for decades is a longtime environmental reporter with the Seattle Times.
All of a sudden, onto the scene comes somebody named Mike Simpson. I never heard of Mike Simpson. I had to keep looking up his name. Is it Tom? Is it Pete? Is it, what is it? Some one-syllable name guy? Who is he? And Mike Simpson, Republican out of Idaho. Whoever would have thunk it? The thing that strikes me as a reporter covering this all this time is how little of it has really changed. I mean, that's not to say that nobody's doing anything. I mean, what is it? $17 billion have been spent on hatchery operations and habitat fixes and a lot of changes to the dams. But the fact is, these fish are still headed to extinction, and now so are the orcas.
The salmon have run out of time. The extinction train is still rolling down the tracks. And if we don't do something, it's over.
And that makes the stakes pretty high, not only for the salmon, but also for farmers and irrigators, as well as power consumers, outdoor recreationists, and even other wildlife.
Those dams don't even pay for their own maintenance. Idaho is losing hundreds of millions of dollars. They're zombie money-losing dams.
We get 15 cents for every dollar we put into those dams, and these fish are not worth destroying over that. They're way, way, way too magnificent and valuable. The thing is, we're human. We make mistakes. Take the dams out. It was the wrong idea. They don't generate much good for humanity, and they're killing the most magnificent run of salmon on the planet. We need to get rid of them, pronto.
We don't know that removing the dams would have the desired effect. Removing the dams would be like throwing a Hail Mary pass in a football game when you don't even really know the score.
But the conditions are so complex. Changing currents, weather patterns, climate change. Salmon were here before we got here. But that doesn't mean they have to stay here. So are mastodons. And so are large herds of bison. And so are dodo birds.
But to the Northwest tribes, losing salmon would be devastating to their way of life.
Without the salmon, it's a pretty lonely world. Not just for us, the human beings in my country, but the waters, they're not whole. The riparian zones, they're not whole. The birds that fly that used to feed on the fish, they're not whole, and they never will be until those salmon are returned.
You all inspire me to do what I'm doing. I'm trying to restore a fish from going extinct. I don't think we should ever let a species go extinct if we can prevent it. Especially when it's going extinct because of actions we've taken. We will never, never, never give up. Thank you all.
Outdoor Idaho takes a deep dive into the latest proposal to save Idaho's imperiled salmon. Can it work? Should it work? And what does it mean for Idaho and the Northwest?